My mother was sort of the model for Livia Soprano. And I used to tell people stories about my mother and the things my mother said and did.
I said that there was a plan that he was going to go into New York and be killed. Okay, didn't do that.
Like a few other shows in the 80s and 90s, the series titled The Sopranos remains one of the best of its time. It popped out in its prime and got so many awards, but just like so many successful shows, controversies came in, making fans think twice about everything related to the series. Before long, some of these weird revelations became more popular than the show itself. So, what are the weirdest things about The Sopranos that people didn't know about? Sit tight and let's dive into the strangest, most unexpected facts about the series that even die-hard fans didn't see coming. About The Sopranos. The Sopranos is more than just your normal crime drama. It is a perfect story of the complications of life as a mob boss. The brilliant David Chase created this series, and it dives into the chaotic world of Tony Soprano, who was portrayed by the late James Gandolfini. It is set in New Jersey, and Tony is not just your typical mafia tycoon. He struggles with panic attacks that leave him so vulnerable and questioning his own authority. Tony finds himself in the office of a psychiatrist named Dr. Jennifer Melfi, played by Lorraine Bracco. This reluctant therapy journey becomes a very important part of the series, as Dr. Jennifer encourages Tony to deal with the challenges he faces in juggling his family life with his criminal activities. This conflict is at the heart of the show, providing a fascinating look at a man torn between his duties as a husband and father and the ruthless demands of the mafia. The series is populated with a rich cast of characters, each adding their own flavor to the story. You have his devoted yet conflicted wife, Carmela, brilliantly played by Edie Falco, who often struggles with the moral implications of Tony's lifestyle. Then there's Christopher Moltisanti, Tony's ambitious protege, portrayed by Michael Imperioli, whose aspirations often lead to tension and drama. It premiered on the 10th of January, 1999, and wrapped up on the 10th of June, 2007. The series enjoyed a really successful run on HBO, spanning 6 gripping seasons and 86 episodes. The series was produced by HBO, Chase Films, and Brad Gray Television, with a lot of the action filmed at Silvercup Studios in New York City, as well as a lot of locations in New Jersey. Throughout its run, a talented team of executive producers brought their A-game to the show, including David Chase himself, Brad Gray, Robin Green, Mitchell Burgess, Eileen S. Landris, Terrence Winter, and Matthew Weiner. The incredible combination of compelling storytelling, psychological depth, and interesting characters has made The Sopranos an indicator in television history, leaving a lasting impact on how we view crime dramas today. The Sopranos is widely acknowledged as one of the greatest and most influential television series in history, often credited with ushering in the second golden age of television. Its impact is emphasized by numerous accolades, including multiple Peabody Awards for its first 2 seasons, an impressive tally of 21 Primetime Emmy Awards, and 5 Golden Globe Awards. Equally, the series has brought about some critical analysis, controversies, and even parodies. Critics and fans loudly recognize the series for its bold approach to dealing with difficult and controversial subjects, such as crime, family dynamics, gender roles, mental health, and the complexities of American and Italian-American culture. The series is also known for redefining the mafia genre, moving away from the traditional dramatized portrayal of gangsters to offer a more subtle and realistic portrayal of everyday mob life in a suburban setting. It goes deeply into Italian family dynamics through Tony's suspicious relationship with his mother, providing insight into the emotional struggles within his family. For example, the character of Carmela Soprano, which was portrayed by Edie Falco, has been highlighted in essays like Kristen Gorton's Why I Love Carmela Soprano for her role in challenging Italian-American gender roles. Also, a New Yorker editor named David Remnick said that the series reflects the mindless commerce and consumption which we see in modern America. In addition, the series enjoys an impressive overall rating of 92% on Rotten Tomatoes and a score of 94 out of 100 on Metacritic, further revealing its status as a remarkable achievement in television history. Peter Biskid, a contributor to Vanity Fair, praised The Sopranos as perhaps the greatest pop culture masterpiece of its day. David Remnick, the editor of The New Yorker, called it the richest achievement in the history of television. In 2002, even while the show was still in its 4th season, TV Guide ranked it 5th on their list of the top 50 TV shows of all time. By 2007, Channel 4 in the UK declared the series as the greatest television series ever. From the first season of the series, it got overwhelmingly positive reviews. After its premiere, the New York Times says, "The Sopranos just may be the greatest work of American popular culture of the last quarter century." In 2007, Roger Holland from Pop Matters remarked that the debut season of The Sopranos remains the heights of American television. Furthermore, Andrew Johnston of Time Out New York also reviewed the series, claiming that David Chase and his team of writers wrote the legendary Great American Novel in the form of 86 episodes. In a lot of debates with fellow television critics Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller Seitz, Johnston asserted the supremacy of The Sopranos over other critically acclaimed series like The Wire and Deadwood. In fact, both authors named Sepinwall and Seitz later included the series in their 2016 book titled TV, the Book, which ranked it as the 2nd greatest American television series of all time, right behind The Simpsons and ahead of The Wire. Seitz even went as far as calling the show's ending the greatest conclusion in television history, further giving its accolades as the legendary status in the pantheon of TV excellence. In late 2009, a lot of television critics referred to The Sopranos as the best series of the decade and the greatest of all time, in many articles which reflected on the television landscape of the 2000s. When it came to rankings of the best TV shows, as expected, the show consistently landed in the top spots, often competing with The Wire. In 2013, TV Guide placed it at number 2 on its list of the 60 greatest dramas of all time. In that same year, the Writers Guild of America honored it as the best-written television series ever, while TV Guide declared it the greatest show of all time. A 2015 survey done by The Hollywood Reporter, which included 2,800 industry professionals such as actors, producers, and directors, ranked the series as their 6th favorite show. In 2016, and again in 2022, Rolling Stone placed it at the top of its list of the 100 greatest TV shows of all time. In September 2019, The Guardian ranked it as the first among the 100 best TV shows of the 21st century, stating that it hastened TV's transformation into a medium where intelligence, experimentation, and depth were treasured, and described it as a benchmark for anyone currently creating television series. By 2021, Empire had also ranked it number 1 on their list of the 100 greatest TV shows of all time, and in 2023, Variety placed it at number 3 on its own list of the greatest TV shows ever. The Sopranos is being referred to as one of the most successful shows till today, but some things went wrong, maybe a little weird, so hang on as we explore one of the weird things you should know about the show. The Wipes Transition. The internet has a flair for analyzing everything, from celebrity scandals to the fancy peculiarities of pop culture. But one mystery that continues to baffle fans of the series is the sudden shift to slow motion and a wipe cut in the 5th season of the series. In spite of the extensive investigation, the reasons behind this stylistic choice remains a secret. For some years, people have had their minds fixed on the important moment in the 10th episode, titled Cold Cuts, where Carmela says to an old flame that she's returning to her estranged husband, Tony. This scene got a lot of attention during the pandemic, as many viewers revisited the series. A director named Mike Figgis briefly talked about the wipe transition in his commentary for the DVD set, saying, "That's a really interesting transition. and it wasn't the way I'd expected the scene to look at the end. The question came up again during the interviews for the Sopranos sessions, the definitive making-of book by Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller Seitz. Matt was intrigued by the ongoing curiosity, so he went straight to the source, asking creator David Chase about the decision and the reason he did it. David answered, acknowledging the fact that he had approved the wipe transition but couldn't recall the reason behind it. The next thing Matt would do is to reach out to Mike for clarity. Even after he reviewed his shooting script and the storyboards from the episode, Matt was still confused. He did remember that this stylistic choice appeared in the original cut edited by Sidney Wolinski, and speculated that the slow motion might have been intended to increase the emotional weight of Carmela's realization as she decides to return to Tony. This mystery has kept fans engaged, fueling discussions and theories about a moment that, despite its visual flair, remains shrouded in ambiguity. However, Sidney Wolinski and his assistant could not recall how or why they decided on the slow motion to freeze frame to wipe transition. By the time the episode aired in 2004, slow motion was hardly a groundbreaking editing technique. After all, who could forget the iconic moment in Sex and the City Season 3, which aired in 2000, where Carrie Bradshaw goes away from a disastrous lunch with Natasha? That scene, captured in slow motion, powerfully reveals her realization that she might not receive the forgiveness she longs for, and that Big is back on the market in New York City. The wipe transition, on the other hand, gives a more complex difficulty. As Jim Hemphill from IndieWire stated, in most basic terms, a wipe conveys the passage of time. While this is dissolvement, a wipe is often seen as a more powerful and sometimes funny way to analyze that shift. Sarah Shachat, also from IndieWire, stated the fact that wipes are almost always cheeky. This playful element might have contributed to the moment feeling somewhat vibrant for viewers, leaving them surprised. Unlike more straightforward pop culture mysteries, like the reason Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is not available on streaming, this enigma around the transition in this legendary series may be one that even the internet struggles to reveal. It stands as a proof to the artistry and complexity of the series, bringing about endless speculation and discussion among its committed fans and critics. We've just started, and there is still a lot to unravel. The next one we are about to explore is about the demise of one of the characters and how it was treated. This got fans of the show thinking a lot and getting back to watching the show to confirm it. So, take a snack as we carefully explore Livia Soprano's character. The CGI Livia's Conversations. There are a lot of memorable scenes, but one of the most memorable sessions came during the third season, with the appearance of a CGI-rendered Livia Soprano. This unique choice by David left many viewers questioning the reason for this. Tragically, the actress named Nancy Marchand, who portrayed the character of Livia, passed away during the series' run, leading to the decision to take off her character off-screen. This loss deeply impacted Tony Soprano, as the demise of his mother obviously weighed heavily on him, more so than a lot of other character demise throughout the series. Nancy's depiction had been special in the early seasons, making the CGI moment all the more noticeable. After her passing in 2000, the plans for Livia's character came up, leading to her eventual off-screen demise. The only time viewers saw Livia in CG was during a heated confrontation between her and Tony, where he warns her to not report him to the FBI. What starts as a serious warning quickly devolves into a heated argument about her refusal and denial to fill out the journals that Carmela had gifted her 2 decades before. And the journals were meant to share her life experiences with her grandchildren. Eventually, the use of CGI for Livia to prove that their story had not finished yet, even in her absence, speaking to the enduring and complex dynamics between mother and son. The result is unsettling, which isn't surprising given the era of CGI technology. In 2001, some techniques that would later perfect de-aging for characters like Luke Skywalker or Young Eleven from Stranger Things were still 2 decades away. The showrunners had to work with the limitations of their time to provide Tony with a last moment with his mother. In an interview in 2001 with the Chicago Tribune, David explained his motivation for the scene, talking about its importance to the whole narrative. He felt it was important for the characters to have that final interaction. I thought that was needed to have that on the table in that story, not just have to go back to what had happened in the past. The relationship between Tony and Livia is complex, filled with a mix of love and resentment that is fundamental to understanding Tony's motivations. David acknowledged that Livia was not merely unsupportive and detached during their confrontation. Through this final scene, we see her continue with extreme focus on her own grievances. This further demonstrates the deep emotional struggles that shaped Tony's character, making the CGI appearance of Livia a significant part of the story. The episode obviously addresses some lingering questions about whether Livia felt any regrets or sought redemption before her demise. As David explains, he believed it was essential to provide this closure to platform the rest of the story. A narrative that sees Tony sinking deeper into a swamp of sociopathic behavior and the turmoil of families. The necessity of using CGI to bring the late Nancy back as Livia brings out Tony's complicated feelings toward his mother. The portrayal of Livia comes across as upsetting, almost human, but not quite, reflecting her intensely cruel nature and escalates the emotional baggage that Tony carries. This monstrous quality explains the depth of his issues with his mom, suggesting that he may never fully escape their impact. While there are subtle suggestions that Livia may have suffered from softening of the brain, it's clear that she is basically a deeply flawed person. By the third season, Livia has betrayed Tony, declined his affection, and repeatedly sought to hurt him. This rejection leaves Tony feeling bewildered and unworthy of such treatment. In his eyes, Livia has morphed into a ghostly reflection of their toxic relationship, an actual shadow of the woman she once was. This transformation is illustrated in Tony's reaction to her demise. He goes into self-loathing, blaming and convincing himself that he didn't love her enough and that he never truly deserved his mother's love. This internal conflict adds deep layers to Tony's character, talking about how much his mother's influence continues to haunt him, even after her passing. The use of CGI for Livia was perhaps one of the few manageable options available to the show to finish up her storyline after Nancy's passing. However, as technology progresses and the practice of creating performances from deceased actors becomes very common, some ethical questions arise about the implications of such choices. A controversial example of this is the CGI rendition of Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, where another actor's voice was used to craft a performance that Peter never actually participated in. There is another important difference between what Rogue One did and the approach taken by The Sopranos. In Rogue One, Tarkin was brought back primarily for the sake of nostalgia, and he appeals to fans who remembered the character from the original trilogy. In contrast, the creators of the series felt it was essential to complete Livia's arc, which could be perceived as a way to honor Nancy's imperative contribution to the series. Regardless, the reality remains that the CGI representation of Livia was created without Nancy's consent, which raised a lot of ethical concerns. As deepfake technology continues evolving, bringing about discussions about actors' rights regarding digital alterations to their performances, it becomes a complex issue to evaluate whether The Sopranos crossed a line in their storytelling choices. This situation leads to the ongoing debate about the responsibilities of creators when it comes to the legacy of performers and the ways in which technology can form narratives in both potentially exploitative and respective ways. The CGI representation of Livia had an ongoing debate that still lasts till today. But the one we are about to explore is more compelling, speaking to reincarnation and guilt as explored on the show. Take a snack as we unravel this quickly. The symbolism of guilt and reincarnation. One lingering question which surrounded The Sopranos finale is the ginger cat that Tony connects with, especially whether it is a symbol of the reincarnation of Christopher Moltisanti or not. In the 6th season and 21st episode titled Made in America, Tony and his crew bring the stray cat back to Satriale's pork store after creating a bond with it at Tony's safe house. This moment is just one of many instances throughout the series where Tony has connected with animals, from the ducks that frequented his swimming pool to his ill-fated racehorse, Hi Oh My. Paulie Walnuts Gualtieri, however, is not happy about the new feline companion, referring to cats as snakes with fur. In spite of Tony's assurances that the cat is a good guy, Paulie remains doubtful and increasingly unnerved by the animal as the episode goes on. In a very funny scene, Paulie goes ahead to threaten the cat with a broom, only to quickly reply by pretending to sweep the floor when Tony unexpectedly walks in. This adds to the mysterious scenes of the finale and has sparked a whole lot of discussions among fans since the show concluded in 2007. The cat's presence, along with Paulie's dislike for it, raises questions about loyalty, symbolism, and the connections between the characters. So many viewers have thought about whether the cat represents a deeper meaning, especially with regards to Christopher, whose tragic fate looms large over Tony's journey. This enigmatic element contributes to the ongoing legacy of the series and the weird interpretations of its rich narrative. As Paulie explains, his alertness to the stray cat is deeply rooted in ancient Italian superstition. In Italy, black cats are often seen as pets of the devil and somehow associated with the supernatural. Although the cat in question is Ginger, its crossing Paulie's path is very important, especially as he wrestles with his own mortality. Paulie's superstitions and fear of death prevent him from swiftly accepting Tony's offer to lead the old Cifaretto crew, particularly given the stern fates that befell its previous bosses. When Paulie observes the cat staring at a picture of Christopher in the Satriale's office, he becomes convinced that it is the reincarnation of Christopher himself. This agrees with the more supernatural elements throughout the series and the complicated relationship between Christopher and Paulie. Whether or not the cat is indeed Christopher's reincarnation, it serves as a potent symbol of guilt and a huge reminder of mortality. Paulie's feelings toward Christopher also portray a broader tension within the series. While he resented the close bond between Tony and Christopher, who was seen as a potential successor, Paulie's own relationship with Christopher was filled with rivalry and conflict. Christopher's decision to be a Hollywood filmmaker and his struggles with substance abuse created significant tension between him and Tony, ultimately leading to Christopher's tragic demise at Tony's hands. Although there was a rivalry, Paulie's genuine upset over Christopher's passing hints at a deeper bond between the two. The cat has gained access to the inner circle through its association with Tony and becomes a means for Paulie's reflections on loss, loyalty, and the consequences of their violent lifestyle. This layered symbolism adds to the richness of the series, inviting viewers to think about the critical dynamics of its characters and their intertwined fates. Paulie's connections between the cat and Christopher extend beyond mere metaphor, as it easily taps into the supernatural themes that David and his writing team wrote about throughout the series. It frequently explores ghostly visions, sequences of dreams, and spiritual apparitions, enriching its narrative with a layer of mystique. For instance, in the last season, Paulie has a vision of the Virgin Mary at the Bada Bing, which he later confesses to Tony during their last discussion in the finale. Tony, who is familiar with Paulie's superstitions, abandons the vision with a joke about shrines. But this moment speaks to the tension between skepticism and belief, as Tony himself is visibly unsettled by the idea that the cat could embody Christopher's reincarnation. Throughout the series, Paulie's expressed fears of demise and the afterlife are well written. His visit to a psychic, who seems to have a scanty knowledge of his past killings, adds to his character's struggle with guilt and his complexity. It is a symbol of the weight of their past transgressions and acts as a haunting reminder of their mortality. The cat's presence, therefore, deeply resonates with both Paulie and Tony, summarizing their unresolved issues and fears. It speaks to the notion that, regardless of their attempts to dismiss the supernatural, they are still haunted by their actions and the consequences of their violent lives. This relationship between the mundane and the mystics enhances the show's exploration of fate, mortality, and the psychological burdens carried by its characters. Reincarnation has always brought about weird feelings, especially when explored in movies. It is one of the controversial themes of the series, and we are about to explore more on the most controversial scene of this show. Let's dive into the scene that got people having second thoughts about the series. The most controversial scene of The Sopranos. The final scenes of The Sopranos remain one of the most controversial endings in television series history, leaving some viewers and critics feeling confused. Even Lorraine Bracco, who played the pivotal role of Dr. Melfi, shares her sadness and dissatisfaction with how the series concluded. In the finale, Tony faces another tense moment in a diner, which cuts to black as an unseen figure approaches him. This thriller has drawn a lot of criticism from some fans who wished for a more definitive resolution. Lorraine agrees with these sentiments, expressing her preference for a less unclear ending. She also tries to entertain the idea that Tony was not unalived in that moment, which envisions a scene where he continues to encounter Melfi in the future. This perspective speaks to the enduring impact of the series and the complicated narratives it crafted. Lorraine's thoughts on the ending show the series' lasting legacy and the many reactions it evokes from its audience. She further shares on shows like The Spotlight with Jessica Shaw, as reported by Variety. Honestly, I think they bumped into each other in restaurants and stuff like that. I think part of me wants to believe that she took a moment away from him and they got back together, back in therapy. I could believe that. She also expressed the fact that she was discontent with how David and the crew chose to end the series. I was also not very happy with the way David ended it. I thought it was bad and wrong. I was annoyed. I told him, "How do you invest 5 years into someone's life and just walk away?" I said, "That is not cool." And you know, that was it. Her honest remarks talked about her deep connection to the character of Melfi and the emotional investment that both the cast and viewers had in the characters throughout the series. Her feelings about the ending reveal the complexities and unresolved tensions that The Sopranos masterfully portrayed, leaving a lasting impression on its audience and even its creators. David has talked about his decision to end the show in such an ambiguous manner, recounting how the idea for the diner scene came to him one day while driving. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter in 2001, he said, "I think I had this notion. I was driving on Ocean Park Boulevard near the airport, and I saw a little restaurant. It was kind of like a shack that served breakfast. And for some reason, I thought, Tony should get it in a place like that. Why? I don't know." In spite of the reasons for ending the show that way, David also expressed his concern with the way some fans sought a clear confirmation of Tony's fate. He said that the vagueness of the ending was an intentional step, designed to provoke thought and discussion, rather than deliver a straightforward resolution. This decision has fueled some ongoing debates among fans, adding to the show's legacy and complexity. David's reflections highlight the creative choices that shaped The Sopranos and the lasting impact it has had on both its audience and the landscape of television storytelling. David further spoke more extensively on fans' reactions to the ending, noting they wanted to know that Tony was unalived. They wanted to see him go face down in Linguini, you know? And I just thought, God, you watched this guy for 7 years, and I know he's a criminal, but don't tell me you don't love him in some way. Don't tell me you're not on his side in some way. And now, you want to see him killed? You want justice done? You're a criminal after watching this for 7 years. That bothered me. Yeah. This perspective explains David's intentions to challenge viewers' perceptions of morality and empathy. By crafting an ambiguous ending, he has the aim of provoking a deeper reflection on the complications of Tony's character and the nature of justice in the world he inhabited. His comments reveal his frustration with the desire for common and conventional endings of shows. And this is part of what has made the show an incredible series that continues to resonate with audiences. What do you think about the weirdest things you didn't know about The Sopranos? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.